Today, I'm going to be presenting my information on my biofuel, which is biobutanol. Biobutanol is a 4-carbon alcohol produced by the fermentation of biomass like corn, sugar, beets, or wood. The primary use of biobutanol is to act as a fuel in internal combustion engines. Its properties are similar to that of gasoline. It can be blended with gasoline in concentrations up to 11.5% by volume. It's also been recorded that some high-powered gasoline vehicles can even use biofuel without being modified. Biobutanol is produced from renewable biomass sources. Rather than petroleum, this production is genuinely achieved from a microbial fermentation process, often using species of bacteria from the Clostridium genus. Clostridium naturally ferments sugars and starches during the metabolic processes known as ABE fermentation, which stands for acetone butanol ethanol fermentation. The feedstocks that are used to grow this bacteria are sugar, beets, and corn. They are typically grown and cultivated using standard farming and cropping practices. How the fuel is produced. Biobutanol is mainly produced through microbial fermentation, which is powered by sugars obtained through photosynthesis. Plant biomass converts sunlight into carbon dioxide and waters into glucose. The sugars are then produced by the Clostridium. Once produced, the bacteria undergo cellular respiration pathways that will break down the sugars to then be used as energy. The end products are ethanol, butanol, and acetone. Development status. Biobutanol is still currently being researched and developed. However, there are some biotech companies that are currently working towards a large-scale production of biobutanol. The latest studies include integrating continuous fermentation processes with efficient product recovery and the use of mathematical models as tools for process scale-up and optimization. The companies in which we can see this would be companies such as Butamax and Gevo. These companies have also genetically engineered bacteria and yeast in order to produce higher yields. The cons of the development found, though, research would be the cost of biobutanol is higher than that of ethanol. The economic impact. The economic impact of this biofuel comes with both pros and cons, just like any new innovation would. The fuel itself is still very compatible with many existing pipelines and engines. This would mean that infrastructure costs would be lower than those of ethanol or other fossil fuels. Biobutanol's high energy density also allows vehicles to travel at a further distance per gallon, and when you examine this from an economic standpoint, this would reduce long-term fuel consumption. The production costs, however, are fairly high due to inefficient yields and the biomass pre-treatment that is needed for this biofuel. Public communication efforts. Currently, the public communication efforts being made to advocate for this biofuel would mainly be from the U.S. Department of Energy. Biofuel companies and academic researchers, each one of these companies and organizations are currently working on promoting biobutanol as a cleaner alternative to gasoline. The U.S. Department of Energy is currently working on educational materials to highlight the benefits that come with using an alternative that's new. Due to it currently being tested and still under the research and development phase, knowledge of biobutanol remains limited to the public eye. Takeaways and plan of action. My final takeaways on this biofuel would be that it's a very promising innovation with potential that's yet to be discovered. Due to it being under the research and development phase still, we currently don't know all that it's capable of. However, with what we do know, with its engine and pipeline compatibility, it's a very possible replacement to petroleum. In addition, its reduced carbon emissions are still very great. My plan of action was if there's no limit on funding and if funding wasn't an issue, I would want to build large-scale plants in which we would focus primarily on industrial-level fermentation to get as much yield as we possibly can. And I say this because yield is currently what's holding this back. I would also focus on creating educational programs to help spread awareness and supporters who could possibly then donate even more funding to the program. This can be done through TED Talks, panels, and campaigns. Essentially, I'd want to get as much education out there to the public eye because this isn't currently known yet, and if we're able to educate more people and get more people on our side, we could potentially possibly get more funding. Lastly, these are the sources which I used in order to create this presentation on my biofuel.